If you're interested in bluegrass music, you probably know who Billy Strings is. But more interesting than that, even if you're not interested in bluegrass music, you might know who Billy Strings is. Now, that's not true for the majority of bluegrass artists. It's pretty rare for bluegrass musicians to break into the mainstream. Yet, despite his success, so many lifelong bluegrass music fans don't like Billy Strings. By the way, if you don't like Billy Strings, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why. If you do like Billy Strings, there's lots of other great bluegrass to listen to, and I hope that I can give some of that to you. If you're watching this channel for the first time and you don't know who I am, hi, how you doing? My name's Marcel. I'm a full-time bluegrass guitar player. I spend most of my time teaching because I find it very rewarding and fulfilling. Here on this YouTube channel, I cover a lot of Billy Strings guitar solos, or as we call them in bluegrass, guitar breaks. One of the big reasons I do that is because following trends is important. When you're a guitar teacher, you talk about what's popular. So I get a lot of positive comments about Billy Strings on my videos, but I also get a lot of comments like these, which makes me wonder how an artist can be so divisive in a community that's so small. If you don't know anything about Billy Strings, here's the short history. Billy Strings is from Michigan. His father died of a heroin overdose when he was 2. His mother married Terry Barber. Terry Barber got Billy Strings into bluegrass, and they're about to put out an album together, which is going to be really neat. Around 2012, the press snowball kind of started, with multiple outlets calling him a prodigy, retelling the story of his family, covering his own history with drugs. And this led to him cultivating a following of not only traditional bluegrass fans, but also alternative folks and deadheads and southern folks, etc. So he continues to have this very broad market appeal, but he does have his haters, and a good number of them come from the bluegrass world. I think one of the ways we can start to account for the mixed Billy Strings reviews is by looking at how people get interested in bluegrass. You might think that's weird. Why would we talk about how someone gets interested in a genre? But only a very small portion of the population gets born into bluegrass music, where it's an integral part of their community and their family. For instance, all of our dads universally listen to Led Zeppelin, but how many of your dads listen to Wendy Miller? Yes, that number is much, much smaller. So for a lot of us, this conversation is relatively common. And if you did do a poll of bluegrass musicians of various ages, I think these are some of the things that you'd come up with. My parents used to listen to the Grand Ole Opry on the radio. I saw the Dillards on the Andy Griffith Show. I saw Flatt and Scruggs on the Beverly Hillbillies. I saw Bonnie and Clyde in theaters, and I loved the car chase music. My family used to watch Hee Haw together. Did you see that kid play banjo in Deliverance? That was creepy. I found my parents' record collection, and I'm the first hipster music snob. I saw Phish on tour, and they played a bluegrass set. Did you hear Garth Brooks' new song, Callin' Baton Rouge? Apparently there's a band called Newgrass Revival that he got the arrangement from. Or I saw the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and bought the soundtrack. Have you heard of Nickel Creek? It's like pop music with mandolin. I heard a guy sing Wagon Wheel at a party. I heard Darius Rucker sing Wagon Wheel. I saw Billy Strings sing Dust in a Baggie in a green room on YouTube. Every few years, there's a shared cultural experience where everyone kind of stands up and says, whoa, what's bluegrass? I gotta figure this out. And if you're in the community when that's happening, it feels like an earthquake is going on. We get so many new people into the genre, and we just get this resurgence that unfortunately has varying levels of staying power. For instance, the soundtrack for Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which won the Grammy and the CMA for Album of the Year, doesn't have a lot of folks spinning it 20 years later. Also, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou came out 20 years ago, so who's feeling young now? If you ask me what generation I'm from, I'm definitely from the original Wagon Wheel generation. Now, what do you think bluegrass musicians think of the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack or of the song Wagon Wheel? Well, I can tell you they don't think it's bluegrass. If that feels weird to you, that's right. It should feel kind of weird to you. That means two of the biggest events to bring people into the genre, to keep the genre off life support in the last 20 years, were pushed away. Check this out. My friend Hayes is also a full-time bluegrass musician, and I'm just gonna bait this trap, and I'm gonna throw him under the bus. Check this out. The Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack, certified 8 times platinum and less than a decade after its release. Is that a bluegrass record?
No, not at all. An acoustic Americana album.
So just to be clear, the Oh Brother We're Out There record brought in millions of new bluegrass fans into the genre, but we refuse to call it a bluegrass record.
Truth. Which is the most bluegrass thing ever, right? Come on.
Do you think that when so many fans of bluegrass music hate on Billy Strings, do you think that he is just this generation's touchstone, and that's why he's getting so much hate? Because he is the mainstream?
I could definitely see that. Absolutely.
So let's revisit all of those Billy Strings hate comments for a second. That sound familiar now? By the way, Hayes, I really didn't mean to throw you under the bus like that. Love you, bro. I just baited that trap and you fell into it. Bluegrass musicians are a load of hipsters, and I can admit that. We really don't like when the music hits the mainstream, I guess. But we also say things like, man, we really need to get the younger generation interested in bluegrass. Also, when the next cultural peak of prime bluegrass conversion hits, we can say, yeah, but that's not bluegrass. Those aren't real bluegrass fans. They don't even know that Robert Lee Pennington was hired to play banjo for Bill Monroe in 1958. But guess what? I don't even know who Robert Lee Pennington is. Why was his name on the test? So we're going to do some good old-fashioned fence sitting to try to understand both viewpoints. When we have these big cultural events that will bring in tons of people to the genre, we say, yeah, but not like that. Like maybe don't come into bluegrass that way.
Yeah, it's like, did you have to put gauges in your ears, son? You know, like that kind of thing, right? Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I feel like part of the reason why the Billy Strings fans and the bluegrass fans in general clash is partly because of this like reverence for tradition and preservation thing that the bluegrass musicians got going on. Billy fans, by their very nature of being new to bluegrass, haven't been exposed to everything that's out there. Bluegrass is Billy Strings to them. That's why there's so many kind of savior articles that are written about Billy Strings, despite the entire bluegrass music scene standing around like, hey, yeah, we've been here the whole time. We've just been playing bluegrass over here. Guess no one noticed us. All right. For instance, I made a video about who would win Guitarist of the Year at this year's IBMAs. There were some rabid Billy Strings fans in the comments saying he was going to win and he was the only person that deserved to win. But first of all, I doubt those people even watched the IBMAs, the International Bluegrass Music Awards, because they're Billy fans, not necessarily bluegrass fans. And I don't fault them for that. They're new. That's fine. But guess who did win? Cody Kilby. If you're a Billy Strings fan, let me introduce you to a very talented guitar player that deserved to win just as much as Billy, if not more. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you're new to bluegrass and you like Billy's guitar playing, Billy probably isn't as innovative as you think. So that means even like right now, there's multiple top-level bluegrass players that have as much talent as Billy, but don't have as much fame. But they're as good as him, or even better. In fact, I don't want to leak DMs or anything, but you know what Billy said to me about the IBMA Guitar Player of the Year award? In a very humorous way, he said that the competition was fierce and maybe he felt like he wouldn't win. And I'm not trying to say I talk to Billy Strings all the time or anything. He's sent me like 2 messages ever in my life. That's it. Billy's a great guy. He's a stand-up dude, but that's not just him being humble. That's also him being a little bit of a realist. He knows that he's not the best guitarist on the scene, but he certainly has cultivated the largest following and has created one of the most successful vibes. I hate that I said that. So maybe you can see the frustration of the community when this Billy Strings short I posted just past 300,000 views, with most people being impressed with his guitar playing, while this one of Cody Kilby, once again, the guitar player of the year according to the IBMA, is struggling to hit 20K. Here's a crazy example. This keyword evaluator says the audience for Billy Strings is larger than the audience for bluegrass. That is terrifying for a small music scene like we have in the bluegrass world. So what do we do now? Well, obviously we
shove Billy Strings out. He's not bluegrass, and anyone who likes Billy Strings is wrong. And then maybe we'll leave an angry YouTube comment. And now everyone thinks we're pretentious jerks. Well, yeah, dude, I'm not trying to like academically study the birth of a genre or whatever, but like, you know, Billy's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, I guess I kind of like bluegrass or whatever. My grandma got the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack like 20 years ago. Before I was born, because in this skit I'm like a high schooler and I have a driver's license, and I was born after the release of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. Guess what? All of the people who are getting into Billy Strings right now don't care about preserving bluegrass music and culture. They just like Billy Strings, and that's great. That's fine. Maybe in the future they will care about those other things, but right now, yeah, you know, Billy's got like a cool vibe or whatever. He's probably like, I don't know, the best bluegrass guitarist ever or whatever. Let me point out that that character is not supposed to represent all Billy Strings fans or something. It's mostly supposed to represent what I would have been like if I went to high school right now. I feel like that would be me. And guess what? Their opinions are fine. When I started listening to real bluegrass, I was obsessed with Tony Rice. So I actually equated anything Tony Rice did to bluegrass. So river sweep, two guitars, you know, oh yeah, that's bluegrass. What about all the weird saxophone stuff on Me and My Guitar? Oh yeah, that's bluegrass. Of course, I was wrong. Those things aren't bluegrass, but I didn't know any better. I just liked Tony Rice. I was new. You're allowed to make mistakes when you're new to a thing. And an even better thing to say right here is that everyone's tastes are different. Some people like Billy Strings, and other people like weaponized musical pedantry because mommy and daddy didn't love them enough. So let's look at the problem like this. Billy Strings haters. You feel like he's eroding a musical tradition and blah, 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 blah. I have to read your talking points day in and day out. I'm not going to recite them here. But you also simultaneously care about keeping bluegrass alive, right? That is one of your main talking points. You see videos of young kids playing bluegrass and you comment, the future of bluegrass is safe. But you see a video of Billy and you comment,
did you have to put gauges in your ears, son?
So you admit that bluegrass needs help in reaching a younger generation and staying alive. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Billy Strings is that help. He's breathing a new life into our industry, so maybe let's not talk trash about him and his fans under every single video. Oh, what's that I hear? You don't think that Billy Strings is actually having an effect on the bluegrass music industry? Well, let's pull up some numbers. This is the data on Google Trends. After the great Wagon Wheel boom of '04, that is to say for the last 20 years, bluegrass has been less and less popular every single year, except for the last year and a half or so. Interesting. I wonder why. Maybe let's take the popularity of, I don't know, Billy Strings, and let's overlay that onto the chart. Well, this is probably just coincidence. Lots of things influence the market. Fluctuations can come from a wide array of sources. I'll tell you what I see on the chart. Billy Strings gave us our first increase in popularity in 20 years. Still don't believe me? That's fine. Let's look at the albums nominated for Album of the Year at the 2022 IBMAs. The three most popular albums out of those five are Bela Fleck's My Bluegrass Heart, Molly Tuttle's Crooked Tree, and Billy Strings' Renewal. So the most popular track off of Bela Fleck's My Bluegrass Heart has been streamed 500,000 times on Spotify and features Billy Strings and Chris Thile. The most popular track off of Molly Tuttle's album Crooked Tree has been streamed 1 million times on Spotify and features Billy Strings. The most popular track off of Billy's album Renewal has been streamed 3.5 million times on Spotify. The funny thing is, I don't think Billy even won this category, but but he significantly has the most streamed album. If these are the best bluegrass albums of the year, Billy Strings' album is the most popular by like 300%. By a wide margin. Now, I'm not saying this to knock other artists, right? My gig here isn't like, whoa, look, their record didn't sell enough. No, what I'm saying is that a rising tide lifts all ships. So we should be rooting for Billy because he is changing the industry for the better. He is literally the first uptick we have seen in 20 years. Not to mention, we're overdue for a mainstream bluegrass sensation. Remember this chart from earlier with all of the ways you might have gotten into bluegrass? I wrote like 4 things in the 1960s and I could have written 4 more. You know what I've written since the turn of the century? I wrote Wagon Wheel twice, thanks Darius, and then I wrote Billy Strings Sings About Drugs in a Green Room. There have been way less significant cultural moments to bring people into bluegrass as of late. So if you care so much about the genre, and obviously Darius isn't going to save us, sorry Darius, why would you spend all of your time hating on Billy Strings? You're only killing the genre you love while people like Billy are actually trying to save it. By the way, I'm not even a huge Billy Strings fan or anything. I think his music is good and I enjoy covering it here on the channel, but he isn't my #1 bluegrass artist. He isn't like the only thing I listen to. I'm just a guy who's trying to breathe some life into the community and happens to see comments from both sides of this thing every single day, and I feel like I gotta talk about it. In conclusion, Billy Strings fans, go listen to everything that Tony Rice ever recorded. Non-Billy Strings fans, let's take it down like 20%.